Good morning, my love. Did you sleep well? Ah, I'm glad we both slept well. Of course. Why wouldn't I be okay? You do know how to read me, don't you? You've gotten good at that quite quickly. No, it's all right. Just, you're so warm. These 2 weeks that you've been here have felt like an eternity, yet nothing more than a handful of seconds. It's simply difficult for me to believe that you will not be here this evening. Even more difficult that it should be something I ought to be accustomed to, what with 2 centuries' experience living in this forest, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry. I know that it is unreasonable to be so strongly attached to someone I have essentially only just met, and yet my emotions do not cooperate when I ask them to be reasonable. But never once have they so completely overrun my conscious thoughts as they have since I have met you, dear. I know you'd like to stay, and unfair is a good way to put it. Do you mind if I get a bit emotional? I don't want to bring down the mood, but thank you. You know, there's a part of me that almost wishes you didn't feel the same way about this. No, not at all. I'm quite grateful for the companionship and the love you've given me. For so many years, there have been so few sources of company that I might be able to interact with. When I was alive, I never gave much thought to what death might bring, what the afterlife might be like. It's true that I don't generally get to experience many of the things I could while I was alive. A gentle breeze, a warm blanket, the smell of flowers, but by the same token, there were many things I didn't have to experience, like pain or hunger or the need to sleep. Perhaps my life, now, such as it is, has been somewhat boring, but it hasn't been unpleasant. It is something which I had become familiar with, something which became known and comfortable, in the same way that my life before had been. And then I met you. The mere fact that you can interact with me, see me, hear me, talk to me, touch me, is something of a miracle. In 200 years, you are the first human I have spoken to, and I don't understand what machinations of the universe should make this possible. And to think that you're also the most wonderful woman I've ever met. I could not be happier to have fallen in love with you. And I'm flattered that you could feel the same way about me. In no way could I ever wish for it. But it would be easier to say goodbye if you had not so plainly reminded me what it was to feel love, happiness, to feel alive. Were you quite eager to return home, I might also be able to come to wish for it as well, to grant you that happiness. But that's all. I know it's unfair to say this, but I love you more than I have ever loved someone. And I am grateful, genuinely grateful, for this opportunity to fall in love with you. But this forced impermanence rather feels like a greater curse than the forced permanence of being a ghost. You are too kind. I needed to get this off my chest before I lost the opportunity and had to regret that for all of eternity. I'd never believed in ghosts either, actually. Yes, I suppose that meeting a ghost might be rather convincing. But even after I became one, it took some time to genuinely believe it. You actually believed it faster than I did. I agree that this is rather strange in many ways. But what do you mean? You know, I'm flattered to hear that you could feel that way about me. It does feel like we've known each other for so long, and I've been more at ease during these last 2 weeks than I have in a very long time. But you can't really expect me to believe that you don't have people fawning over you all the time, can you? You're beautiful, charming, even if, yes, you can be a bit awkward at times. Hey, I think it's cute, okay? And it's not like I'm any better. No, not really, I suppose. Marriages between women were uncommon in my time, but that doesn't mean that the relationships were. Close friendships weren't always just friendships. You understand? So, no, I don't think it's that strange that we're both girls. A girl or two may have caught my eye once upon a time. Not that it was quite reciprocated, nor that it much matters now. Rather, I think the much more strange part of this is that I'm literally a ghost. Though neither of us seems to take much issue with that part. I don't know. I've been able to manifest to animals in the forest, but I think that's because I'm bound to it. I know that this cabin is also in the forest, but you're still the first human I've been able to manifest to, even here. And even then, it's different from any other time it's happened. How should I explain this? Projecting is a bit like taking deep breaths. With a bit of practice, it doesn't necessarily take a great deal of effort, but it is something you have to decide to do and pay attention to. But with you, it just happens, almost whether I want it or not. Is there a reason for your sudden interest in the pragmatic logistics of my existence that I've explained at least some of before? And yet, by the glimmer in your eye, I suspect the opposite. How about this? I will answer your questions if you will answer mine. Well, if it should sate your curiosity, Ikishinia Forest has always had its legends and its mysteries, long before my time. I have since learned that some of them are true, but it is too strange to think that this particular forest is what is able to continue to bind me to the world. But no, its power does not extend much beyond its boundary. Now, may I ask you what is going through those thoughts of yours? You've had this cute, shy smile that says you want to tell me. A dream? You decided you were going to stay here because of this dream? Why didn't you say anything? If it had been on your mind. You're too sweet. I know this might seem like a strange question at this point, but may I kiss you? I want you to stay, but is this really okay? Don't you have... I don't want you to feel like you have to stay just because of me. I suppose that makes sense. And if you're sure, then that makes me incredibly happy. There are indeed some answers of pragmatics that will need to be resolved, but I suppose our love is already something of an impossibility made possible. So who's to say what's truly impossible for us? Would you like me to go get started on some breakfast for you? Such a clingy little one, aren't you? No, I suppose I'm not any better. Yes, I suppose you're right. We can have breakfast later. We have so much time together.